overall, Louie CK is not a criminal. He didn't break any laws. He's not a criminal in any. There could have been sexual harassment in one of the incidents, but out of the New York Times incidents, there were 4 incidents. 5 women were involved. So 4 incidents, 5 women. And out of the 4 incidents, one is a Katy Perry kind of incident where the power was used in order to take something away from somebody that has no power, right? You're faced with a wealthy, powerful, rich, and famous person that just wants to, take away the first kiss away from, So one of those is close. So he's not a perfect thing, but these other incidents I think are ridiculous. So he's not a Mel Gibson. He's not a Jared Fogle. He's not a Kevin Spacey or a Harvey Weinstein or an Alabama Republican Roy Moore. So he's not, he does the incidents are the same thing that were, it doesn't rise to those level. It doesn't rise to that level. So, Mel Gibson, I know that it's not a sex thing, but he said that Jews are, bad people, and then he called black folks the N-word. He says, do you want to get raped by a pack of, N-words, chiggers? That's what Mel Gibson said to his girlfriend. Has he apologized for that? He said that he loves black people or that he loves the Jewish community or anything like that? I don't think he has. Yet we're going to allow him to get away. So anyways, let's talk about the incidents first, and then we'll talk about what I think about it. Okay, so the New York Times published an article November 2017, and then later on, Louie CK wrote a letter saying that they were true. The stories about him were true. And so actually that's like him taking responsibility, right? There seems to be 2 paths. You can go the Roy Moore and the Donald Trump path, or you can go, the Louie CK path, where he takes ownership of the thing and he says, this thing did actually happen. Now, what happened? What are we talking about, right? So I walked to the store, I got a piece of mail, I walked back in the house. That's an incident, right? Oh my God. Do you remember the incident that happened yesterday? Remember that thing that you did where I got my mail and came back? That's okay. So when people say incident, that doesn't. Anyways, so let's see. There's 4 incidents, 5 women. Now, there's one anonymous thing that it does seem like he was in a position of power. He was a writer and producer of the Chris Rock show in the late 90s. So he could be like a Katy Perry in that incident. Katy Perry is a predator, took, that from the 20-year-old, he didn't ask for it. If she would have asked, he would have said no. He was saving himself. And yet, she kisses him and then he falls down and they're all having like a good laugh at it, his whatever inexperience. So anyways, I'll get to that incident in a second. So let's first, the 3 ridiculous ones. So none of these are crime. There's 2 consensual things, and then one wasn't consensual, but it was a phone call where he's masturbating on the phone conversation. So there's this woman, they're talking about whatever, this and that, and then, she notices that he's jacking off. So Abby Schnatcher could have hung up at any moment. If she felt like this is, oh my God, I'm being victimized, I'm being criminalized, this is against me, I hate this, this is pervy, this is perverted, this is gross, this isn't who I am, hang up. Oh, that would have been rude. Oh, okay, that's rude, but not hanging up and then what? So, I feel like that she was enabling it in some respects. If you thought the thing was going on, just hang up. Just hang up. It's not a crime, and why stay on the phone? I mean, why stay on the phone unless you're like some kind of pervy creep too? You want to say, where's this going to go? She said she heard the blinds drop, and Abby Schnatter had called Louie CK to invite him to one of her shows. So she's sitting there saying, hey, Louie, will you come watch one of my shows? So she wanted this rock star to, come watch her show and then maybe get some advice. And what, she's not interested in him at all? And that's, that sucks. That almost makes you think of Chris Farley, a great superstar, couldn't find anyone to love him. But, ultimately that is, okay, so it's very lame what he's doing, but it's also kind of liberating in a sense, right? He's not asking them to have sex or to kiss him or touch him at all. Anyways, this phone conversation, well, I'll finish the phone conversation, that's fine. The phone conversation, she could have just hung up. She heard the blinds coming down, then started talking about his sexual fantasies. He's breathing heavy, talking softly. So she knew what he was doing. She knew that he was masturbating, and then she was just like dumbfounded. The call goes on for several minutes. So you want me to just sit here for several minutes so you understand what several minutes sounds like? And she just listened. And just kept on going with it, right? She wanted him to do something for her, And I don't think she was paying him or getting anything. What was he going to get out of this? Come watch my, I guess it was a free show. But she's like, you want to believe it's not happening? I definitely wasn't encouraging it. And I just wanted it to be over, you know. And then 6 years after the phone call, eventually he apologizes. Abby Schnatcher says that he apologizes it and gets the, let's see, she didn't know how to end it. Okay, anyway, she didn't know how to end it. So hang up, that's how you end it. Well, you need a nice, smooth, well, nice talking to you. Nice talking to you, okie dokie. So she allowed it by, you know, continuing to listen. At any moment, at any time, she could have got out of that situation very easily. She's, you know, not being intimidated. He's not lording over her. He's not blocking her where he can't get out or whatever. She could have very easily got out of that situation, okay? So I remember thinking what a repulsive person I was being by responding the way I did. This is Louie CK, who apologized to her 6 years ago in a Facebook or email or some shit. So last time I talked to you, it ended in a sordid fashion. It was a bad time in my life. I'm sorry. I remember thinking what a repulsive person I was being by responding the way that I did. So Schnatchner accepted the apology and told him she forgave him, but the original interaction left her deeply dispirited, and it was one of the things that discouraged her from pursuing comedy. Oh, really? So Dave Chappelle actually had a joke about, that's kind of a brittle dream. That's a very brittle dream. You got to dream of being a comedian, and then, you know, some weird comedian jacked off while you were talking to him. So clearly he was, you know, liked the sound of your voice, but because that incident had happened, now she can never pursue comedy ever. Dave Chappelle pointed out when Martin Luther King had a dream, if Martin Luther King, they were trying to get him on every single, you know, recording all of his sex life stuff so they could try to muscle him and blackmail him. They want to blackmail Martin Luther King with all, you know, sitting there recording all of his, whatever, his sexual romps or trying to find some sexual romps. He had a dream. He had a dream. And then when, if somebody was talking to Martin Luther King on the phone, I mean, these FBI agents could have been jerking off the whole time listening to, you know, him have sex with his mistress. So they're on the phone, they're jerking off, and yet what, MLK is supposed to give up on his dream? It is a brittle dream, and maybe you weren't really into that, you know, into comedy as much as you thought. And, you know, I'll reverse the roles, too. If you want to see how fair the thing is, reverse the roles. So you have, let's just say Louie CK says, hey, Abby, I'm doing a show tonight. You want to come watch me at my show so you can give me some feedback, and it's a free show. So is that good enough for you? And then she's like, God, this is Louie CK, and I'm turned on, and she's sitting there touching herself, and you can tell that she's touching herself on the other end. And I just, you know, Louie CK just sits there and listens to her, right, for 2 minutes while she goes on and does the thing, and he doesn't hang up. And then, you know, this is 2003, 15 years later, Louie CK goes, God, Abby was sitting there masturbating on the phone with me 15 years ago, and you know, it broke me. It absolutely broke my spirit. It broke my dreams. It broke everything that I wanted to do. I mean, it sucks to meet your hero and then realize that they're just, you know, a loser like anybody else. So that part, it sucks. But is there a crime there? No, I don't see a crime there at all. I don't see a crime there at all. At any moment, at any time, if Louie CK kept calling her over and over again, if he kept stalking her, harassing her, trying to take something, but, you know, this was during the conversation she had initiated, and she could have stopped the phone conversation at any moment, at any point, and any time. But she's going to quit comedy, and then they're going to say, well, see, he used his power in order to make sure he quit. Well, Katy Perry, let's go back to her. So if that 20-year-old boy quits the music industry, we're going to, you know, chastise Katy Perry. We're going to, you know, basically put her in the headlines, say she's a predator, and make sure nobody ever push her out of the industry, right? That's what we're going to do, right, America? We're going to push Katy Perry out of the industry. Louie CK didn't do that. He didn't trick any of these women into kissing him. He didn't say, hey, come close and then snatch a kiss real fast. He didn't lay a hand on them at all. And he asked them, okay? So let's go to the consensual things. That phone conversation wasn't consensual until she realized what he was doing, and then she let it happen. So she still wants to be his friend. So she's at the moment saying, okay, we could get past this, but then thinking later on, you know, how gross and how weird. It's gross. It's weird. It's not a crime. It's not a crime. And maybe she was listening because she's a pervy creep too. She's sitting there enjoying this stuff. It's weird, it's gross, but you know, she's getting something out of it. So that's not exactly consensual at first, but it became consensual when she allowed it to happen. All she had to do was push a button. She's free in her own room, in her own society, or whatever. She could just hang up. She could just hang up. And then what's going to be the repercussions, right? The FBI is going to continue to stalk you, continue to harass you, and then MLK got shot and killed. So hell, they could even take your life. They shot and killed Fred Hampton. So, a crime. Is there a crime that happened there? No. Is there a crime that happened in 2002? There was a 2002 incident, 2003, 2005. So the last incident that happened was 13 years ago, and then the early 90s, which is the only thing that is a Katy Perry kind of crime. That is the only thing that I really see that he did. That, it's weird, and every time anybody thinks of Louis CK, really, that's the point, right? If there is a crime, then report it, and if the cops aren't listening to us reporting crimes, which has happened to me, I had reported a sexual crime that had happened to me, and they didn't give a shit. They wrote a fake fucking thing, and they said, all right, get the fuck out of there, right? Because I'm just a guy who gives a shit if I get raped. You had Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was going around raping a bunch of soldiers, and everybody ignored that. So it seems to me that the rapists get away with their crimes, and then the victims of rape don't. And that's males. Those are for the men. So, ladies, and then these men, Jeffrey Dahmer was going around, raping all these U.S. Army guys, and then one of them eventually kills himself. And then, of course, Jeffrey Dahmer, he learned what he learned in the U.S. Army and kept on killing. So we could have stopped it. If we need to look at who's right and who's wrong at these incidences, okay? So nobody's just saying that they got raped. Well, I mean, that's got to be hard. It's probably hard for women to say it, but I think it would be harder for men to say it. I mean, you're less of a man, right? You got a little dick, and you little queer, you little fag, you little pussy, you little girl. What are you, some sort of girl? Couldn't you have just, stood up and fought for yourself? Well, if they were bigger than you, what the hell are you supposed to do? So, let's talk about the two incidents before. Okay, so the consensual, they pretend to be surprised that Louis was going to do the very thing he asked of them, right? Oh my God. So he asked them, hey, you want to go up to my hotel and masturbate? You want to watch me masturbate? So, I thought that I Love You, Daddy was a good movie. It was very nuanced. I've learned a bunch of things from Better Things, that actress that he hangs out with. They've been at the forefront of American culture for quite some time. He says that he'd been speaking for a while. Now he's listening. Now he's learning. He's changing. He's the one that said he's changing when it came to Tosh.0, made a rape joke, and then he had defended Tosh.0, but then he said he read a bunch of articles, and he says now that that's a part of him. He didn't know that every single woman has those kinds of stories. And he's also a super feminist. He has an entire bit about how the biggest threat to womankind are men. And, the biggest threat to women are men, whereas men only have to worry about heart disease. So, fellas, you got to watch out. So the fact that all women have these stories, I mean, I think he's right there. He's right there. So for him to be picked off, nah, he's subversive and he's telling the truth. And this goes against the 1%. So, how about the men? And let's compare him to the men who don't even change. He's kind of taking responsibility for it. He was being honest about it. What about the men who don't change, won't change, don't care to change, pretend like they did nothing wrong? The same person who allegedly raped a 13-year-old is the president of the United States. The same man who just fondled a woman on an airplane, just started grabbing at her tits, just started grabbing at them, right? Just grab a pussy because you're allowed to do it. He did that several times too. Grabbing asses, grabbing pussies, grabbing tits. Louis CK is not a Donald Trump. He's not a Donald Trump. Donald Trump is worse. So what did he do? Okay, so meanwhile, Donald Trump, he gets to kill 278 innocent people on St. Patrick's Day. So, talk about sex crimes versus murder, 278 innocents, including women and children. So it's not even about sexual assault, that they're worried about life and death. So that's, Donald Trump pretends it didn't happen, and he's never going to change, and, did nothing wrong. He's murdering people right now. Meanwhile, Louis CK is left at home to masturbate. So it seems to me the lesson is, be like Donald Trump. Don't take responsibility for your crimes. Instead, avoid and deflect. You'll become president of the United States if you're Louis CK and you actually stand up and say, look, the situations that happened. So the one that they started out with, 2002. So you got Chicago comedy duo Dana Goodman, Julia Love landed their big break. At the U.S. Comedy Arts Festival in Aspen, Colorado, Louis C.K. invited them to hang out in his hotel for a nightcap after their late night show, and they didn't think twice. But see, here's the thing. Louis CK doesn't control the U.S. Comedy Arts Festival. He's in Aspen. They're in Aspen. Nobody knows anybody what's going on. So he says, do you want to go to the hotel for a nightcap? I mean, it's a man asking women to go for a nightcap. And that's the thing is, when they go into the room, still wrapped in their winter jackets and hats, Louis CK asked if he could take out his dick. The women said. And then they said that, you know, they thought it was a joke and laughed it off. Really? So it's like, hey, do you mind if I masturbate? Oh, okay, yeah, right. And then he pulls out and they're like, oh my God. And then they just, you know, they don't leave. They don't leave until after he's finished, okay? So they go into the hotel room, which is, okay, I mean, I'm not saying that, okay, anyways. So they go into the hotel room and he asked them. It's a proposition. They're in his own hotel room. He paid for that room. They're in his jurisdiction. They're in his area. And then he said, hey, y'all come here, you're interested in me, I'm going to jerk off. Are you okay with that? They could have ran out the damn room right then and there. I mean, he invited them to the room. Don't you think, like, sex is kind of a part of it, or it might be in the near vicinity? And then they said it was a joke and they laughed it off, but then he did it. So even if you thought that it was just a joke and you said, you know, you were like, no, I don't want to see that and I'm not going to see that. But the moment he pulls his dick out, you realize it's not a joke. Get the hell out of there if you don't want to be a part of that. Get the hell out of there. Why would you sit there and be like, oh my God, oh my God. So you got these, you know, Dana Min Goodman and Julia Wolove. They go into this Colorado hotel room, and he did it. He took off all of his clothes, and he got completely naked, and he started masturbating. So he got completely naked. I feel at that point, aren't you still like, you're still in the room. You're still watching this guy who's completely naked. And he invited you to the room, so yeah, I guess he didn't say, hey, come watch me jerk. But once he got in there, he did say it. And he's not pushing himself on them. It's not rape. He's not touching them. He's not pulling a Donald, right? He's not pulling a Donald. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a consensual thing. This is a consensual thing because they said yes to go into the hotel. They said yes when he pulled out the dick. They pretended it was a joke and they laughed it off. But when he got naked, that's when it got real. It got really real. Then they could have left. But they only left. Apparently they're holding on to each other, screaming and laughing in shock as Louis CK masturbated in a chair. And then they're paralyzed after he ejaculated on his stomach. They fled. He called after them. He was like, which one is Dana and which one is Julia? Which is funny. That's funny. I mean, my God, you invited, you know, reverse the roles. Reverse the roles. You have, you know, Tig Notaro, whatever Tig's name is. So Tig invites you up to her hotel, and then Tig says, hey, I'm going to start masturbating in front of you. And then I'm like, well, I didn't really want to be a part of that. And then she takes off all of her clothes and then just starts, you know, enjoying herself like she's in an amusement park. And I'm just going to sit there and watch. I'm just going to sit there and just like, she took off all of her clothes. I'm in her hotel room and she's doing this thing that I just am appalled about. And it's going to, you know, hurt me so bad. And I'm just going to watch and I'm just going to do, you know, just allow it to happen without saying a damn word. No, I mean, that's, if I do, then I'm a part of the thing. If I really was against it, I would have left. And there is no part about this Louis CK blocking the door. He masturbated in a chair. That's all they said. So it might have been surreal. It might have been weird, right? And then he jacks off onto his stomach. So there's an image we'll never get out of our heads. So we'll always think of Louis CK doing this thing. But is it a crime? No, it is not a crime. So, you know, no means no, but at no point in time was a no even said. So that's 2002, right? 2002, that's 15 years ago. Now, the earliest incident is 2005, 13 years ago. So for 13 years, I mean, he's at least had a decade in there where, you know, I believe that a man can change. So you had that Brianna Harmon who accused black men of raping her. She made the whole story up in Pottsboro, Texas. She made the whole story up. Can she change? Or we need to lock her away and throw away the key forever because she's a predator. She's a predator. Is she going to accuse other people of raping her? I mean, God, if we can't listen to women, she doesn't just hurt herself, but she kind of ruins it for all people. Right? So let's finish this last one, and then I'll get into the one that's close. Okay, so Essentially, it just feels like when men can't proposition women anymore. So in 2005, 13 years ago, Louis CK was in this show, a pilot to a television show. It didn't even say what the pilot was because it clearly failed. He was a guest star on a pilot. So he's not the writer, he's not the producer, he's not the director, he's not the judge, he's not a Katy Perry judge. He is just an extra. So he's a nobody. He's a nobody. And so he's on the set, Rebecca Corey, and then he says, hey, can you come into my trailer and then I want to masturbate in front of her? And she said no. And then he got really embarrassed and he goes, I'm sorry, I got problems. He has issues. And then he walked away. So the situation's over. It's over. He propositioned a weird proposition, but and she said no. And he didn't press her and he just says, I'm got issues. And then he walked away and he goes, I used to misread people back then. So he tried to apologize, you know, somewhat, but that's, I think, more of a PR thing than he actually felt bad. Because, again, reverse the roles. Tig Navarro comes up to me and goes, hey, come to my trailer, I'm gonna masturbate in front of you. And you know what, I wish women actually would, you know, if that's what they wanted to do, I wish they would be more brazen about it, because it's a proposition, yes or no question. The problem occurs when the person says no and they're not listened to and they're not being respected. So therefore, it's rape. You're forcing your will upon somebody that doesn't want it. So she said no, and then he never asked her again. And that was it. So my God, we're talking about something that took 10 seconds. Hey, you want to come watch me masturbate in my trailer? No, Tig, I don't. Okay. She's embarrassed. She walks away. Now I'm going to be like, I'm such a victim here. And then Katy Perry kissed a guy that didn't want, you know, to be kissed. Did Louis do that? Did he go, oh, you're not going to watch me masturbate? Well, here, let me give you a kiss anyways. Let me actually touch. There was no physical contact. There was no touching. So this is, you know, he was an adult. He took responsibility for his behavior. And, you know, I got issues. He kind of laughed it off or whatever. But I feel like you can't, you know, that's a proposition. So it's a weird proposition. I guess it's at the workplace because it's a movie set, but it's kind of a different kind of, it's not like a McDonald's sort of thing. It's movies. So when is it acceptable to proposition a woman for anything, for a date, for a kiss, for, you know, some kind of sex? There's no rules. I mean, really, that's a big thing I think in America is we don't have any sort of customs. There's no real way to court. There's no real way to do anything. It's just, so yeah, those are the three incidents that I think is, none of them, that's consensual. This was a consensual thing, right? So, do you want to do this? No. Okay, then he left. So he respected her. Okay, how's that a crime? He respected her wishes because he asked her a fucked up question. Well, you know, on that point, I was seeing a woman and she wanted me to choke her. Okay, well, that's weird, right? Did I laugh at her? Did I say that's gross? Did I tell the entire world? I am now as an example, but I'm not. I don't think that it's a weird thing to me. I didn't want to choke her. I'm making love. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to be in anywhere. The throat is very tender. What would you get out of that? And then actually the way that she would have sex was when, you know, like she consented to it and, you know, we're going at it, but then she's like pretending to fight me off. So it's almost like her thing was like she wants me to be just kind of like this oppressive sort of man that's just going to take it no matter what. And then and what was weird was like it was hot. It was hot. But it was weird. I remember feeling a little weird about it because she's like, you know, consented to it, but then she starts like playfully fighting me off. And then I'm like, no, you're not going to fight me off. And so, you know, and then she asked, hey, will you choke me? Will I choke you? Okay, so you know what? I said no and I just moved on. People have weird fantasies. I don't know how that got into her chemistry or got into her makeup, but that's, you know, what bothered me was that she was an overly serious psycho. She was an oppressor. She didn't know anything about law or science or politics, and she thought just because I showed a little bit of interest in her that she was going to oppress me with pussy control, and I resented it. She didn't think of me as a person. Oh, you're just some asshole that wants me no matter what I do, no matter how shitty of a person I am. And the thing that actually got to me, we were making hamburgers one day, and I want to smash burgers real thin so you cook them all the way through, and then she's just making these big old pile of, you know, and she ruined the hamburgers. So, I mean, that was my problem with her. I mean, the thing about me choking her, I think it's fucked up. That's weird. You want me to choke you while we're in this, love-making thing? I guess I take sex to be more sacred than that, and I don't want to see her cringing in pain or any kind of pain. So essentially, it was kind of like what that one woman did to Aziz Ansari. I had a bad date. But to allege that a crime had happened because she propositioned me into choking her. Remember when I was in her house, yeah. I mean, she invited me in her house, and I went to her house. And then she said, will you choke me? And then I went and told everybody and anybody, and everybody listened, because that's what this society does. They care about men whenever somebody, my God, she did this weird, creepy thing. And I feel so uncomfortable around her, and I don't know what to do, and my dreams are all gone now. I have no more dreams after this. So I don't know, I don't know why. I don't understand the thrill. I don't know where it came from, but so what? So what? So the way that she actually kind of fought with me when we were having sex made me think of another Louie CK joke. There's a lot of things that's got into me with Louie CK. Louie CK had said something about this woman was interested in her, and then she kept flirting with him, but she wanted him to make a move, and he doesn't really know, how to read women. So he just walked away, and then the next day she's like, how come you didn't say or do anything? And he was like, you didn't indicate to me or say nothing that you liked me. And she goes, well, I like it for the men to get the men so wound up that they just kind of, go for it. So that means, Louis says, so you want me to be a rapist just on the off chance that you might be into that shit? And that's God. I mean, my God, that's, so there's some sort of, codes or some sort of direction that would be helpful. But you're not gonna. You want me to just jump your bones just cuz? And so some women want you to just jump their bones right then and there. But then if you do something, the other one's like, no, I don't want that. And so I feel like that's really it kind of matters in there's Hollywood does this shit all the time, where the guy will go to kiss and then the woman will smack him. And I feel like that there's an equality to that. And I feel like the situation's over, right? I mean, to sit there and go on and on about, oh my God, he kissed me like Katy Perry kissed that boy. I mean, that's going to be traumatizing, right? This is the worst thing in the world for these ladies. No, they have women who listen to them so they can articulate these things. Men don't. Men don't. So that guy saying, oh, I didn't want it, but it's not harassment. I'm not saying that there was a crime. It's not harassment. He says now. But 15 years later, what's going to happen? And there's a power dynamic. And that's the only thing I feel like Louis might have done. In the late 1990s, he's a writer and a producer of the Chris Rock Show. And he asked one of the ladies or somebody to jack off in his office. And she said yes. And so he did abuse his power. He's in a position of power in the late 90s. He's a writer and a producer of the Chris Rock Show. He wasn't a judge. He wasn't the main head honcho. He wasn't the one running the whole damn show. But he was a writer, he was a producer, he did work there, he had his own office, and then she sat in his room while he jerked off. And so what? So Tig Navarro, I think that's the only one that's questionable, but that's sexual harassment, which means there's a lawsuit there, and then she could have also reported it, that's a criminal act, and then it could also got him fired from the show. So, if anything, those other 3 incidents, that's nothing. That's nothing. This one might be something. Okay? So, and then I guess the last point I'm going to make is sort of like, it's a weird thing that he wants, what he's sitting there saying what he wants to do to these women. It's weird, but it was consensual, right? So, I guess I want to talk about just him jacking off. Like, Bill Maher had a joke about, he was jerking off, but, what's up with that? Why are you inviting people to watch you jerk off? Masturbation is a one-man show, and masturbation is a one-man show. So what is he doing? What is he doing? Why is he sitting there, doing this? So it seems to me that he's insecure. Instead of just saying, hey, can I, kiss you? Can I be with you? Can I make love? Can we have sex? He's going for the very lowest thing. The very, the least amount of commitment, the least amount of touching. You just want me just to stand here? So Tig Navarro comes and says, hey, Tig. Tig invites me over to her room and says, let's masturbate. Or she wants to masturbate with me there. If I'm her friend, I would feel a little weird about it, but if I'm her friend and she wants me to stand there while she's looking at me and playing with herself, and then she comes all over herself, that's weird and kind of creepy or whatever, but I'm there, and as a friend, I guess I would do that for Tig. If Tig asked me to do that, I would do that for her. Because there's several things. There's a power relationship there, Well, I mean, she's interested in me. She finds me sexually attractive. But, you know, she doesn't, not asking me to commit to finding her attractive. So, yeah. More coming up.